Hey everybody, what's going on? Um, Today I'd like to talk about the election, or at least the primary win of Alexandria Cortez, and how that's actually, a pretty big deal. Even though people try to pretend it's not a big deal, it's actually a lot, bigger than it seems to be. Um, the biggest reason you know it's a big deal is because the establishment Democrats are freaking out because they, have one less corporatist puppet to control, and the right wingers are freaking out because the whole socialism deal, whatever. Um, it's really sad in this day and age of the internet and people, having access to information that these people on the far right still want to try to play this red scare bullshit. And it's what it is. It's just red scare nonsense. These right wing jokers, they talk like anything I don't like is socialism, communism, or, indoor plumbing is a Bolshevik plot. They talk like that, and it's really not going to win anyone, in the center or anywhere else except for the far right to their banner. But they do it anyway. It's the saddest shit I've ever seen. It's no longer the 1950s, and it's just they're doing themselves a real disservice by trying to red scare people. Like, oh my God, free healthcare, ooh, which actually healthcare we're talking about is free at the point of use, and same thing, knowledge free at the point of use. So they talk about those things like they're horrible. I'm like, oh my God, no, not that, anything that, please God, anything but that. But they don't seem to mind the endless wars are in. Right? Oh, but that's fine. We can pay for that. We have the money for that, but we don't have money for, sending kids to college and taking care of people, which will actually end up saving money over the next decade. I know that Medicare for all, if Bernie Sanders got his Medicare for all done, it would actually end up saving $17 trillion over the next 10 years. And that's covering everybody and providing everyone, with better overall access and coverage and overall health outcomes as well. And we're saving money compared to what we're doing now, even before the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. It's really, I don't know. So you tell these right wingers that, right? And then all of a sudden their fiscal, conservatism goes right out the window, and they're like, I don't care, it's communism, but I don't want to do it. They're stupid. That's what's stupid. They're just hopelessly brainwashed. I've managed to talk to a few people on the internet that are like that, sort of away from the brink of just totally just going into that ridiculous la la land, right wing la la land. But the idea that a first time politician like Cortez wins primary. So all she did was win a primary. Okay, and the place where she is at in New York. In New York is heavily Democratic. She'll probably win the general, but still, it's the idea that someone who can describe himself as a socialist was really Shane's socialist. But I'm not going to be too picky on that, only because it gets the discussion going about that whole idea. But the fact that she can get elected and these people are just going absolute nuts over it, people on the far right and the establishment Democrats are just going nuts for it. But if you think about it, and if you go by the dictionary definition of socialism, what Cortez is proposing is not really socialist. It's more like capitalism, but coupled with a strong social safety net that still allows for the private ownership of the means of production, and socialism, in its classical, traditional, dictionary sense, wants to end private ownership. And I'm not for any private ownership either. We should be exploring all possible economic options, that can actually work in practice. So we shouldn't just limit to ourselves to a really narrow focus of economics just for the sake of ideological sensibilities or whatever. We got to go with what works and what doesn't work. For example, our healthcare system in the United States, even before the even before Obamacare. Obamacare, by the way, is actually Romneycare, Republican Romneycare. And I know it's going to shock a lot of people to hear that, but that's just what it is. But anyway, other countries do healthcare much cheaper. They cover everybody with better overall health outcomes. I mean, that's just a fact. And it doesn't matter how much R&D or research and development the United States does and sells it to everybody else. The fact of the matter is, if we really do that how much R&D, we should be reaping the benefits of that before anybody else. Because if we're going to do all the heavy lifting, then we should be getting lower prices, better coverage, better health outcomes, better health outcomes. But that's not the case. So these right wingers come up with every excuse in the book to be against such policies. Like universal health care, which would cover everybody, save trillions of dollars over the next decade. But it seems to me that they're just falling victim to the narrative pushed by the super rich and the super elites who don't want to pay taxes, who just want to leech from society, benefit from society without having to recontribute to some of the success that's been allowed to happen in the first place, if we want to reform society. But I don't know, there's just all this Red Scare nonsense and this I mean, I'm glad they're doing the Red Scare, dog and pony show, because it's only going to push, like I said, it's not like I said before, it's not the 1950s. It's going to push people away from the far, far right, at least economically, and it's going to make people question why are these people so on the far right talking like this when they're just wrong about this shit. And then that is going to do the most damage to the far right folks, at least on the economic side of things. If you're listening to this and you want to put a comment down below, it's this dude's comment, it's like, go ahead, it doesn't bother me, because it actually helps our side out, us on the left, or at least everyone else that's reasonable with economics, that doesn't have their head up the right. But this Cortez win is a bigger deal than a lot of people would like to make it, and some people are just blown away out of proportion at the same time. It's just really weird. Like, how can one 28-year-old first-time electorate or candidate win a primary, and that's enough to drive people on both, the corporate Dems and the far right? Just as like fun time for politics. Fun time for politics, isn't it?